In the spring of 1291, the city of Acre, last bastion of the Crusader kingdoms, fell to the Mamluk army. Its churches were razed, its walls shattered, and the sea ran red with the blood of those who clung to the collapsing dream of a holy empire. But one man escaped, a knight, unnamed in any official chronicle, who disappeared into the smoke with a sealed chest, never seen again. For over 700 years, whispers have followed his trail, from ruined monasteries in Cyprus to forbidden vaults beneath the Vatican. Some believe he carried the last relic of the Templars. Others say it was a weapon or a secret meant to die with him. Tonight, we follow the trail of the man history forgot and the relic that could rewrite everything we know about the Crusades. In the 13th century, Acre was a jewel, a cosmopolitan port clinging to survival in a region that no longer wanted it. After Jerusalem fell decades earlier, Acre became the de facto capital of the Crusader states. It was home to merchants, mercenaries, nobles, thieves, and secrets. By 1291, its fate was sealed. Sultan al-Ashraf Khalil, heir to a dynasty of Mamluk warrior kings, marched west with an army of over 100,000. Their goal? Erase the last trace of Latin Christendom from the Holy Land. Inside Acre's walls stood about 20,000 defenders, Templars, Hospitallers, and thousands of armed pilgrims who had answered the desperate calls from Europe. But they were fractured. The Italian merchant guilds fought each other as often as the enemy. The nobles were divided. The Vatican had sent no reinforcements. And yet, they still believed they could hold. The siege began in April. What followed was a month of terror. Bombardment by catapults and siege engines tore holes in the ancient walls. The Mamluks, experts in psychological warfare, left mutilated bodies outside the gates and launched flaming corpses into the streets by trebuchet. Inside, panic brewed. The Grand Master of the Templars, Guillaume de Beaujeu, led counterattacks personally. On May 18th, he was struck by an arrow beneath his mail. His final words, "I am not running, I am dead." That day, the Mamluks broke through the walls. Chaos erupted. Women and children fled to the docks. Templars made a last stand at their fortress. Priests burned archives, and in the smoke, according to a single anonymous letter discovered a century later, a knight vanished with an oaken chest marked by the Red Cross. He was seen boarding a vessel bound for Cyprus, and then nothing. So who was he? There is no name, no monument, not even a footnote in the Vatican's official records of Acre's fall. But the stories persisted. A 14th century monk in Rhodes wrote of a relic so holy it must never return to Rome. A secret papal edict in 1312, just after the Templars were disbanded, ordered all surviving brothers to surrender artifacts of unknown origin under pain of excommunication. Coincidence? Maybe. But here's where it gets strange. Napoleon Bonaparte, during his Egyptian campaign in the late 1700s, ordered a covert excavation beneath the ruins of Acre, one that even his generals weren't told about. What was he looking for, and who told him it might be there? Scholars now refer to the mystery as the lost chest of Acre. Theories abound. It held the true cross, the legendary fragment of Christ's crucifixion relic. It was a library of forbidden Gnostic texts recovered during earlier crusades. Some even believe it contained a proto-scientific manuscript, centuries ahead of its time, hidden to protect the Church's doctrine. What we know for certain is this: the Templars had enemies and friends in high places. Whatever the knight carried was important enough to vanish without a trace, and dangerous enough for the Church to pretend it never existed. The most consistent thread in this mystery leads us to Cyprus. Just 250 miles from Acre, it was the closest safe haven for any fleeing crusader. The island had been seized by the Templars decades earlier, briefly ruled by them before being handed over to Guy de Lusignan, the former king of Jerusalem. In the foothills near Kyrenia, locals speak of a hidden chapel, now long gone, where a wounded knight was said to have arrived in 1291. A single parchment, discovered in the 1800s, described a man clad in bloodied white, bearing a chest bound in iron, speaking no words for 9 days. What was in the chest? No one knows. The parchment ends with a chilling line. The burden he bore was not his own, and he begged the stones to forget him. In Rome, the fall of Acre was seen as divine punishment. The Crusades were over. The Pope had lost Jerusalem, and now even the coast. But some historians believe something else happened behind those stone walls. In 1312, just 2 decades after the knight's disappearance, the Church launched an unprecedented purge, the dissolution of the Knights Templar. They were accused of heresy, witchcraft, blasphemy, but the charges were vague, the trials theatrical. Many believe the real reason was fear, not of what they were doing, but of what they were hiding. In a secret Vatican letter unearthed in 2007, a papal scribe wrote, "Some relics must remain unspoken. If they are shown to the world shall turn." The letter was addressed not to a bishop, but to a man named Frater Jacobus de Corfu, a Dominican sent to Cyprus in 1292. Fast forward 5 centuries, the French Empire rises, and Napoleon Bonaparte, brilliant, arrogant, obsessed with the ancient world, launches his expedition to Egypt. What few know is that in 1799, while besieging the fortress of Acre, Napoleon gave secret orders to one of his engineers, "Beneath the Templar ruins, dig." The order was never made public, but letters in French military archives reveal his interest in the hidden box of Jerusalem. Napoleon believed ancient knowledge had been buried by the Crusaders, something that could give him power beyond armies. What did he think was hidden there? And why was the project abruptly shut down, the dig filled in, and the engineer reassigned to Cairo? Some believe they found something. Others believe they were warned off. So what could have been inside that chest? Let's explore the most compelling theories. The Gospel of Judas Iscariot, long rumored to challenge the Church's foundation. A real version was discovered in Egypt in the 1970s, but could a more complete scroll have existed centuries earlier? The lost mechanism, a prototype of advanced engineering like the Antikythera device, hidden to prevent pagan knowledge from resurfacing. The head of Baphomet, an idol the Templars were accused of worshipping, possibly representing ancient Gnostic symbology. Or perhaps it was none of these. Some researchers argue the chest never existed, that it was a metaphor, a myth, a way for survivors to cope with the shame of defeat. But if that were true, why did so many die trying to find it? And why does the Vatican still refuse to declassify its Cyprus correspondence from the 13th century? In 1927, a local priest in Rennes, France, stumbled upon a sealed crypt buried beneath the floor of a collapsed chapel. It had no parish records, no burial log. Inside was a single stone coffin. No crown, no jewels, just a simple sword, a faded tabard with a red cross, and a signet ring engraved with a symbol long associated with the Knights Templar. But here's what made it strange. The inscription wasn't in Latin. It wasn't even French. It was Coptic, an ancient Egyptian Christian dialect unknown to any Western knight of the 13th century. The word, Redemptor, the Redeemer. No one has claimed the tomb. The ring disappeared into private hands. The crypt was resealed, and the church has remained silent. To this day, many believe this was the final resting place of the last Knight of Acre. There's one more clue, a grave with no name, a knight with no order. Discovered in 1927 in a churchyard in western France, miles from any known Crusader route. The stone bore only one word, Redemptor, and carved into the lid, the unmistakable seal of the Templar Order. In 2004, a private collector in Geneva claimed to possess a portion of a lost Templar codex known as the Chronicle of the Hidden Sea. It described a small order of surviving knights who left Cyprus under secret vows. Their mission, to protect the vessel of divine rebellion until the world was ready. Scholars dismissed it as forgery, but one phrase raised eyebrows. To bring it to Rome would be to end Rome. The collector vanished 2 years later. His archive was seized by European authorities and never made public, but not before a few scanned pages were leaked. Among them, a sketch, crude but distinct, of a chest with 7 latches and 1 broken hinge, 7 seals, the same number mentioned in the Book of Revelation. Coincidence or prophecy? We reached out to the Vatican's Archivio Segreto, requesting access to any 13th century documents relating to Acre, Cyprus, or Templar relic transfers. The official response? These materials are not available for public inquiry. No reason given, no date offered for release. But inside sources say several documents in the 1290 to 1310 range are marked with a rare code, in perpetuum obscurum, to be sealed in darkness forever. Even among scholars, that phrase is a red flag. It's used for only the most dangerous archives, materials that, if revealed, would threaten the theological or political structure of the Church. So, what are they hiding? Why does this story matter now? Because history isn't written once, it's rewritten again and again by those in power. If the tale of the last night of Acre is true, then it's not just a story of escape or secrecy. It's a warning about what happens when truth is buried, when knowledge is locked away in vaults, and when history is decided by those with the loudest armies, not the deepest truths. And in our time, when ancient sites are destroyed, archives are redacted, and digital records are wiped, the question isn't, what did the night take? It's, what have we already lost? Somewhere beneath the dust of Cyprus or behind the sealed gates of Rome, the truth may still wait. A chest that changed nothing or everything. A knight who vanished or fulfilled his final mission. A relic or a revolution. What do you believe? This has been The Bastard Historian. If this story moved you, share it, comment your theory below, and join us for the next forbidden chapter of history. Because the past isn't dead, it's just misfiled.
What do you think was inside that chest? A gospel? A lie? A warning? Comment below with your theory, and if you're ready for more forgotten truths, hit subscribe and join the order.